have never experienced a storm like this. The wind, the waves. It felt like the world was tearing itself apart. I knew going to those waters would be my instant death. I could not save them with my own hands. So I did the only thing I could. I lit the tower, hoping to show them the way. I spent weeks in this valley, shaping the water, planting the trees, trying to craft the perfect, unbreakable silence. I wanted to believe that if I made my world beautiful enough, the noise in my head would finally stop. But peace. Peace is a heavy thing to carry when you're only using it to hide. The forest, as beautiful as it was, slowly started to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a cage to me. So of course I chose the discomfort of the unknown over the safety of my own illusions. I walked into the parts of this world I was too afraid to even look at, where the trees grow crooked, the air feels heavy, and the fog never really clears. It's easy to feel safe when you control every block around you, but growth doesn't happen in the cavern you build to escape your own fears. It happens out here, in the wild, where you have nothing left to hold on to. As the trees faded, the ground beneath my feet began to change. The earth here is broken. Small cracks in the dirt. Cold, stagnant water that never moves. It felt familiar to me. It's a strange realization. You can run to the absolute edge of the map, build the highest walls, but you can never truly run away from the fault lines in your own mind. The cracks, they always catch up to you, no matter where you run. And there, towering over the broken shore, stood the old lighthouse, cold, damaged. Its light long dead, because it was swallowed by the mist. It was a monument of a forgotten purpose. A reminder of what happens when you try to shine in the world this dark. I had the choice. Keep hiding in my own quiet forest, or climb the hill and face the cost of being seen. But the old habits die hard. My first instinct wasn't to rebuild. It was to cover it up, to pitch a tent over the broken shore and just pretend the cracks were not even there. It's funny how we do that, isn't it? We find a broken place, and instead of fixing it, we just learn how to walk around the sharp edges. And then, we just get comfortable in the ruins. But the thing is, you cannot build a lighthouse on a foundation of dirt and denial. If I wanted this to stand the test of time, I just had to do the one thing I hated the most. I had to tear it all down. The rot, the decay, the things that look like they were just holding it together. There is a strange kind of grief in letting go of your own misery. You hold on to the broken pieces because, for the longest time, they were the only things that kept you company. It's a violent process, healing. It requires you to destroy the very walls you built to protect yourself, until there is nothing left but cold, harsh truth. And only then, when you hit rock bottom, can you finally start building up. I have never experienced a storm like this. The wind, the waves. It felt like the world was tearing itself apart. I knew going to those waters would be my instant death. I could not save them with my own hands. So I did the only thing I could. I lit the tower, hoping to show them the way. And the fire was still burning. But the ocean did not care. I stood at the top of the tower, the wind howling through the stone, watching the waves tear the ship apart against the jagged rocks below me. I built this light thinking it was a shield, thinking if I just shined bright enough, the darkness would retreat. But nature, she doesn't negotiate. The lightning struck the forest behind me, The cracks of thunder shook the very foundation of the lighthouse. I watched the flames consume the trees while the water consumed the ship apart. I was caught between the fire and water, completely powerless. The light wasn't a savior anymore. It was just a witness to the wrath of the world that owes us nothing. The morning brought a heavy, suffocating silence. The storm had exhausted itself, but it took the forest with it. I walked down from the tower, my boots sinking to the black ash. The air still tasted like smoke and salt. Everything I knew here, the quiet woods, the shadow of the pines, just reduced to charcoal and memory. I looked at the compass in my hand. Last night during the storm the needle was spinning wildly, quite literally lost in the chaos. But now, it was still, just pointing steadily into the heart of the wasteland. So I followed it, step by step through the grey fog, expecting to find nothing but ruin. And then, I looked up. I saw it. Surrounded by absolute destruction, one singular tree stood untouched. Its leaves were vibrant, breathing life into the dead air, a quiet defiance against the chaos. But it didn't make sense. It should not have survived. But maybe that's the point. Sometimes the most beautiful things are born in the places where everything else fell apart. A reminder that even after the worst storms, life just refuses to give up. They survived the wreck. I found them washed ashore, cold, shivering, staring at the wreckage of their past. They had nothing left. No direction, no home. They were strangers, but I knew the look in their eyes. It was the same look I had when I first arrived in this world. The crushing weight of being entirely alone. I couldn't leave them to the cold. So I brought them away from the unforgiving waves, up the cliffs to the only living thing left in the ashes, to the tree. We gathered around its roots. We built a fire from the broken pieces of their ship. We pitched tents. We didn't have much, just the clothes on our backs and the warmth of the flames. But as I watched the firelight dance across their faces, something finally shifted inside me. I spent so long trying to build a haven just for myself, trying to escape the noise. But the true peace isn't found in isolation. It's found in what you can build for the others. This wasn't just a camp anymore. It was a seed, the beginning of something greater than myself. In this loud, broken world, we were going to build a new one, together.